Hey, welcome back to the channel. It's awesome that you're tuning in. In today's video we are going to take a close look at the Anbernic Arc-S. So this is basically a single operating system, and I can tell you I was really excited to check this particular product out. The reason why, because I'm getting some really huge nostalgia vibes with this product. So when looking at it at the first time, I've noticed on the picture, man, this thing looks like a huge Sega controller with a 6-button layout, something I've already been asking for quite a long time, and absolutely one of the best D-pads ever. Yep, I do say that often, but there are different kind of D-pads. We're going to talk about it later on. Inside the package there's not a lot. We're having the USB cable for charging and data transfer. Underneath we're even having a nice screen protector. You're going to get the wipes. And of course the toilet paper manual deluxe. And with Embernic, it comes with a very nice manual that explains a lot on this. And I must say that they're doing an awesome job. I think Anbernic is also one of those companies that surprises us, or at least me at least, because there are so many different devices out there, but they're having consistency when it comes to the overall quality of it. Let's chit chat about the specifications. So this is the Arc-S, a cheaper model. It comes with the Rockchip 3566. It is actually in quad-core 64-bit Cortex A55, have a main frequency of 1.8 GHz. The GPU is a Mali G52 MP2, 1GB of LPDDR4, a 4-inch IPS display with a resolution of 640x480 and 3500 mAh battery that gives us around 6 hours of game time. So holding this thing in my hand, it comes with a very nice weight to it. Not to the point that it's going to be way too heavy, but it does have like a very nice feel, because it has like a quality feel when it comes to, it's not a lightweight, like Chinese junk that we have seen before, but also when it comes to, let's say, the form factor of the device, it's absolutely comfortable, and I just really love it. I've been playing with this thing for quite a long time now, and I can tell you I was really surprised by it, how comfortable it was. But coming in with a weight of 256 grams, this thing has absolutely the nice sweet spot when it comes to the weight itself. The shell itself, already mentioned before, I'm getting some old school Sega vibe with this. And this is in a very positive way. But let's do a quick overview of the device itself. At the bottom we're finding the two SD cards. It's the same configuration with, let's say, the less like the 10 models or something like that. And of course a headphone jack out. On top we're finding two Type-C connections, an HDMI mini, and then we're having even the reset button, volume control, and the on and off switch over here. But I'm very glad that they implemented a physical volume button, because this was not the case with some of the models with some devices. And then of course the mini HDMI. There is no cable for this in the box itself, so you can use a converter from mini HDMI or you can get yourself a cable. But let's test out this function. Well, if you want to activate the system HDMI output, you need to plug in the cable and give it a reset if it already has been booted up. So this is actually the way how you need to play, and this is absolutely looking great. Combining this with a Bluetooth controller or another way to add controllers, you just have like a game box that we can play all kinds of cool games with. And this way we can just play some old school games. And combining this with some bezels, this looks absolutely great, I can tell you that. Volume can also be adjusted throughout, let's say, the device itself. And you can just bring this thing with you, plugging into a television, have a lot of fun. The downside to this configuration is actually, so if you want to just plug it out and you just want to continue playing portable, yeah, this system is not great for this, because you need to shut it down before you even go to do this. So what you need to do with some device, it automatically shuts down through the device itself, but you need to fully shut down the system itself, unplug the cable, and then boot up the system again. Maybe they can fix it with a software in the future. So when you're looking at the button layout, this thing is absolutely perfect. So we're having the 6-button layout over here, we're even having the floating D-pad, select the start over here at the sides of the screens at the top, and we're having two front-facing speakers. Depending on the emulator, I must say that some of the emulators don't go really loud, but the overall quality of the speakers is absolutely great. So this is one of those old school classic D-pads that I have seen on some, let's say, fake Sega controllers too, and of course the original one. And what I do find is absolutely amazing, that it comes even with a very nice curve, a very nice, let's say, grip and overall, so it's very comfortable to play. So when it comes to, let's say, the way you need to play, it's absolutely something you need to get used to. But when you're already playing with this for some time, when it comes to original Sega controllers, this thing is absolutely responsive and very comfortable to play. Okay, but when it comes to the D-pad, I must say that I already mentioned before is that you need to get used to it due of the floating, let's say, construction. But when you're getting the hang of it, I can tell you this thing is absolutely one of the best D-pads you can actually use on this. It plays amazing, it responds perfectly when it comes to fighting games. And yeah, also if you want to put in a certain direction, there is no problem whatsoever. And this is just the reason I said this is one of the best D-pads that I've ever tried on these devices. So when looking at the buttons, and they are absolutely great and absolutely very comfortable. So first of all, when you're looking at the A, B, C buttons, so you can see there are a lot of already different, let's say, heights between them. That makes them absolutely like very comfortable. And also when it comes to the way the quality is, so you do have a little bit of a wiggle, and that is needed for the room between the shell itself and the button. But you do have a slightly, let's say, an okay travel, but it feels quite nice. But what's interesting also with the X, the Y and the Z button, you can just see they're having the same kind of buttons, but also when it comes to the way where they're placed, but also when it comes to the travel and all the other things. So the ABC having, let's say, different kind of height, and that is absolutely needed if you want to have the, let's say, the best comfortability. And then having the top ones that have the same kind of buttons. It's a very strange configuration. You don't see this very often when it comes to, let's say, the handhelds from China. Most of them, when you're looking at, let's say, previous models, they all have the same kind of buttons. So that makes it very unique. But let's get into some real nostalgia vibe with this Sega controller lookalike device. And of course the 60-bit layout is something that we're going to be needing, having the authentic experience. Of course the X, A, B and Y, most of the games will just use the 3 buttons over here. But with this particular game we're going to have the option to using the Z and the Y button for some extra input keys. Of course we can always map them to shoulder buttons with different handhelds, but I think this is just giving it a little bit more of a nostalgia vibe to it when it comes to this way for playing it. But when you're looking at the device itself, this is absolutely great. This just looks amazing, but also feels, this is not a flat surface that we have seen many times before. And when you're actually going to be holding it, you can put your middle fingers underneath it and give this thing some extra comfortable, let's say, way to play. But let's talk about something else, the shoulder buttons. That is something we almost forgot, or I did. So over here we have a very interesting but a little bit of a disappointing configuration maybe for some of you. So first of all we're having 2 different buttons. Here you can see like this thing is a little bit longer, and that's great because it makes it more comfortable to hold. But also both of them are just normal membrane buttons and not the trigger buttons. And when you're going to be holding them and just playing, they can be reached fairly easy. And I can tell you, I've been playing some GBA on this, and it's absolutely great. Nice travel and also nice feel. But let's boot it up. Let's take a close look at the software itself, because there also we're going to have like a lot of different options and things we can do with it. When booted up, this is the menu we're getting. It's a quite basic menu, but I do like it. So first of all, when pressing start, here we're finding all of the options that we can change out. Think about the sound, controller settings, and you can pair a Bluetooth controller if you want to. So there are a lot of options you could do with this thing. You can just actually make this just a very cool game box. But that is something we're not going to be focusing on in this video. We have an option for the streaming settings, network settings, and we have all kinds of cool things you can do with it. Game settings, here we can even change out the aspect ratio and all the other things if you want to mess around with that. The UI settings can be changed out. We're having different versions. Let's change it out to one of them, and here we can check out that we're having a very fancy one looking. So that is one of the things you need to take consideration. I'm going to put it back all the way to the first one. Looks kind of basic, but I'll just really love it. So in here we're finding the different kind of, say, applications and options. Favorites, read in RetroArc, emulators, apps, and recent list. So pressing this, you can check out all the recent games that you have played. So, but what I think is pretty damn interesting is, and also maybe kind of annoying, is that when you're looking at the emulators and RetroArc, we have 2 huge lists with different kind of emulators. The biggest one is the RetroArc, and over here we're finding the emulators, and here we're finding different emulators. Yeah, different emulators. The Sega Dreamcast, the Saturn, the PlayStation Portable, and then 64. But how will the emulation be? Let's check out that, and let's try a couple of these games. But when we're in the game, you can just mess around with some more settings. So first of all, when you're pressing the X button over here, we're getting into the option to launch the game, add to your favorite, and go to the advanced game option. So with this particular game or Naomi system, there's nothing much we can change out, but the game express ratio can be changed out if you want to, which you can see over here. I will going to leave it to automatic, but that's it. Okay, so when it comes to emulation performance, Sega Naomi runs pretty good on this. Of course, depending on what kind of game you're actually going to be playing, two-dimensional games are not that demanding, of course, compared with, let's say, the 3D games. But it's absolutely just great to see where we're coming from when it comes to these devices. So in the beginning, I already mentioned of the top buttons over here with the on-off switch and the volume. I said this was a reset button, but I should have said better, like it's the menu button, or yeah, it's actually resetting the game system, of course, or the game they're actually playing. By pressing this button, it will bring you to the menu, depending on what kind of emulator you're having. But in here, we're going to have the option to go back to the main menu and even making quick load, quick save. The only weird thing is with some of the emulators, we have an extra menu we need to get out of. This doesn't happen a lot, but it does happen. Oh yeah, so there was only one downside to configuration without any joysticks. Is because, yeah, we're going to need it. And I mean, particularly when you want to play in a certain comfortable way. And you can actually play some GoldenEye on this device with this button configuration, but it is not really recommended, because you're going to have like the D-pad for moving around, for example, in combination with a couple of buttons. The emulation performance is absolutely horrendous on these things. There are a couple of games that can be played, but you will see a lot of glitches going on over here. And you can see also a lot of stuttering going on. It's still playable. You can just see that I need to navigate with the buttons at the side and the D-pad. I wanted to say it's going to be very horrible. Let's check out which button I need to press. So we can actually play some GoldenEye, but I can already tell you this is not the way how you actually want to experience the game. Yeah, no, this is not a very pleasant experience. Oh, wait, he's coming to me. Okay, now we can move on. But when exiting the game with the emulators, here we do have a different kind of emulator, like say every single time, so we need to have a different kind of way to exit the game. Take the note that it's going to be in combination most of the time with the F button, with start or something else, but that's something you need to check out in the manual itself. And I'm very glad that they implemented a manual with the freaking package itself. But another system I just love to check out is some PlayStation Portable, and here we will find an overall mixed performance. Take note, it's going to be an original resolution with no frame skip enabled, but performance itself is so much improved compared with all the other handshelds we've checked out here on the channel. You can just see that the stutters and the dips down, so we can implement frame skip for a slightly overall better experience. But PlayStation Portable will always be one of those systems with its cheaper chips that may not have like 100% perfect like overall gameplay experience. But it also depends on what kind of game you actually go to be playing. Two-dimensional games are less demanding. Think about Darius Boost, one of those games I love to test out to play on PlayStation Portable. It's quite amazing to see that we can actually play. Pressing the F button here we can get into the settings, and go into messing with it. If you want to check out what kind of situation we're going on when it comes to frame skipping enabled. And I think a lot of things have been implemented when it comes to this particular device, when it comes to specifications. But again, this is one of the best things we're getting when it comes to the chipset itself. So we can shut down VSync if you want to, we can mess around with other things. The laser textures already have been enabled. Like, this is kind of interesting that this has been set to high. We can even put this to low and can start tweaking to get an overall better performance. But again, if you need to start doing this, yeah, I think this is not the way I want to experience some PlayStation Portable. But getting into the Sega Saturn, I just wanted to check out some basic games. For example, with the Sexy Parodius games, it's such a fun game. I think the first time I've ever played it was on the PlayStation 1. One other reason I wanted to check out how is it with shmup if you need to navigate through the stages, and I can tell you it's a very pleasant experience. Okay, so next up, let's take a close look at the Sega Dreamcast. And you know, the naming of these characters are kind of funny. This guy is called Fokker. Okay, nevertheless, let's take a close look at some gaming. I've been playing this game quite a lot before I was even recording this, and I can tell you I really enjoyed myself some Power Stone 2. This is such a cool game. I think it is one of those hidden gems for the Sega Dreamcast. You can just play them on the Dreamcast with 4 players. That's so much fun. But the overall performance of Sega Dreamcast on this device is just great. Let's move on to the RetroArc list and check out some Atomic Wave. Atomic Wave is one of those systems that do struggle with a lot of game boxes that we've seen before. It has been implemented in combination with the bezel. But the overall performance itself is not bad at all. I'm just gonna be honest, I have never really enjoyed this game. I'm more a big fan of the Street of Rage series, or think about like a Final Fight. Another system that will be playing very nice on this is going to be the PlayStation 1. So one of the things I just enjoy in this is just playing these old school games, and the D-pad is just absolutely great for this. Let's check out if they have mapped everything like it should be. Yep, there we go. And also the form factor of the device itself makes it a very comfortable play. Now this is actually one of those games that you're needing the shoulder buttons a lot for switching out between games. If you need to shoot, the D-pad, or the floating D-pad in this case, is very comfortable. If you need to make an U-turn, as they call it, no problem whatsoever. You really need to get used to the trigger buttons at the back. But I can tell you that I can really enjoy some Twisted Metal 2 with this. In combination with an amazing sound, great display. You can just also see that they have this bezel going on over here. So yep, this is one of the things you can shut down if you don't like this. But I think it's looking very nice when it comes to the bezel. It just fills up the screen, gives it more like a CRT look. Pressing the F button or the reset button, it will give you in RetroArc different options. Over here we can change out like even more if you want to. So first of all, we can go into the options, we can implement frame skip and mess around with it if it's going to be needing with a certain game. Take consideration with PlayStation 1 with native resolution, it plays just fine. So in here we can even go to the settings, we can change the drivers, video, and here we can shut down like the full screen mode, Windows mode. You can mess around with it. You can remove the bezel that I've shown you before. So RetroArc, we're going to even having more options to mess around with. Okay, so next up, let's try some GBA. And I can tell you, when you're able to play some Game Boy Advance on this, it's going to be absolutely the perfect experience, because these devices now can play all kinds of old school stuff. Think about 8-bit, 16-bit handhelds. Without any problem, you can just play them. So that's absolutely great. They also implemented a bezel with this particular one, with the Game Boy Advance. I think it's not the prettiest one, but I'm just going to be leaving it there. We can also change it out if you want to. Already showing you when pressing only F button, getting into RetroArc. And if you want to reset or go back to the main menu, pressing start and the F button will reset the game and will bring you back to the main menu itself. What it did mess up is giving the games on here with a number. Oh man, that's so annoying, because if you want to search a game, it's going to be absolutely a freaking nightmare. Pressing select, in here we're having jump to the letter, but we only having digits, because they gave these things a freaking digit at the front of the name. But do you really need to buy an expensive device like this for some old school 16-bit? No, not really. There are so many different devices out there that can actually play the same thing. I was just switching my buttons as I'm making this video. But the question remains, like, what can you actually buy more? That is, of course, I did some separate videos about, let's say, like Game Boy look-alike devices that can just play these games without any problem, and they also look amazing with beautiful IPS panels. With this overflow of devices, there are many different devices that could actually play this. Of course, the D-pad and the way how this is configured, yeah, that works perfect for this too. It's an absolutely great addition. When you're looking at the positive and negative sides, I'm just going to be honest, I'm very positive about this particular product. Anbernic nailed it with this, and this is absolutely giving me some next level of nostalgia feeling. With great overall performance, when it comes to most of the devices, let's say emulators, this is just such a cool device to play and revisit your old school games. Let me know in the comments what you think of it if you've bought it. Thank you all for watching, and it would be great to see you in the next video.